C311 full card reaction as well as the results to my betting. We start straight away with Clayton Carpenter versus Tagir Ulanbekov. I won't lie to you, I was pretty hungover from last night when this fight began, and I basically kind of just like my brain shut off, and I just kind of just watched this fight. Like, you know, stuff was happening here and there, but I couldn't really break down to you guys too well what was happening. But I did think Tagir won pretty much every single round, to be honest. Like, he did get the takedowns that he wanted, he got them. Clayton, the second round, did end up getting his own takedown. For a little bit there, he put up a little bit of pressure in the second round. Other than that, every single round, for the most part, Tagir basically, you know, Ulanbekov, yeah, won every single round. Like, it wasn't really that exciting of a fight. Pretty boring, and that was kind of the theme of the prelims. Like, a lot of decision, snooze fest, like, not really the most craziest fights you've ever seen, but what you gonna do? I did end up picking Tagir, so we started the card off strong with a prediction. Next up, Ricky Turcios versus Benardo Sopaj. And in this fight, again, it was a fairly nothing fight for the most part. Like, I thought Bernardo won pretty comfortably against Ricky Turcios. Ricky Turcios had some good moments on the feet where he was going a little bit wild. But overall, as a skill set, you can tell that Ricky has, like, evenly mediocre stats in all of his skills. Like, his striking, his wrestling, he's pretty mid across the board. Below average, some would say. But, yeah, Ricky Turcios got taken down a couple of times in this fight. Sopaj, for the most part, got most of the takedowns that he wanted. Ricky also shot some of his own takedowns. I say some. He shot a fair few takedowns. Couldn't get any of them. I think he got one by the end of it. And, yeah, I thought Benardo Sopaj definitively won most of the rounds in this fight. Fairly boring once again, but, I mean, I'm getting the picks right. But again, like, for the hype that this card had, maybe like 3 days ago to actually how it's unfolded on paper in the prelims, I was literally talking to my friend, like, we were all in Discord, and I was saying, this might go down as the fucking most disappointing pay-per-view of all time, like, as the card progressed. But anyway, Benardo Sopaj was the pick. He ends up getting it done. Rinya Nakamura versus Muin Gafurov. And now, it's crazy to me. It's absolutely insane to me. The Rinya Nakamura got completely exposed. In my prediction video, if you check it out, I did say he will eventually get exposed because I just don't think he's, you know. And this big fluffy bear ends up being the one to expose him. I thought it was someone higher up in the rankings at least. That Rinya just couldn't immediately take down and would expose his striking on the feet. Turns out Muin Gafurov, I don't know. I honestly, I couldn't believe it. He dropped Rinya Nakamura like every single round, I think. Dropped him, did more damage than him, outstruck him for the most part. Rinya really couldn't get anything going here. Very, very basic striking. Muin Gafurov exposes Rinya Nakamura and kills off a prospect. We actually thought this card had some solid locks on it. Like, there's no way Rinya Nakamura loses, right? Like, a lot of people probably put him on their parlays. The parlay killer, I didn't have him on anything. There was no reason to take that risk with Rinya or Payton Talbott. Another fraud check that happened later on in the card. The future is dire for the UFC bantamweight division because two of the hottest prospects in the division have both been fraud checked. And yeah, terrible to watch, especially by this guy who just doesn't look like a star in any way or shape whatsoever, and will probably not even end up amounting to much. I expect him to lose the moment he fights someone in the top 15. I did pick Rinya Nakamura. Silly me. I should have stuck with my gut feeling. But who would have thought that Muin Gafurov would be the one to expose Rinya, to be fair. Next up, Ailin Perez versus Karol Rosa. Again, I did pick Ailin Perez, and I did have money on this fight as well, actually. Ailin Perez did shoot in a few takedowns. She got stuffed a fair time, but she was very gritty. As I said, she would be just pressuring on and on and on with her takedown attempts. Eventually she takes down Karol Rosa, takes her down, controls her for a little bit on the feet, the striking. Edge did go to Karol Rosa, but again, Ailin Perez was controlling her for the most part. Looked pretty dominant in the fight, in all honesty. Won the fight. She is an OnlyFans model. I do want to bring that up. I didn't know that she had an OnlyFans before this fight, and now I know that. And I can see the market for it as well. Like, she's obviously got some great assets to her, which make her great. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to be an OnlyFans, especially since you're a UFC women's division fighter. You're probably not getting paid like that, let's be honest here. Probably making more money on OnlyFans, to be honest. But anyway, Ailin Perez gets it done. She was the first bet that I had on the card. And that ends up holding true. Anyway, moving on. Zachary Reese versus Azamat Bekoev. Azamat Bekoev... Wait, actually, was this the next fight? It actually wasn't. They actually shuffled the card order around. But let's just cover this fight here instead of later on. This fight does happen later on in the card, but basically Zachary Reese and Azamat Bekoev have a fight. Zachary Reese gets taken down in the first round, and after getting taken down, he's doing pretty well off of his back. He's throwing some hammer fists, some elbows, but all in all, he's kind of winning the round if you want to judge it fairly based on damage, because he was doing the more damaging strikes. And I was saying this, and as I was saying this, all of a sudden, Azamat just lands these massive bonkers on Zachary Reese's head. He is out cold, out like a light. And he just goes out, and that's the end of him. And honestly, the ground and pound, so the amount of power that you can generate from ground and pound really varies by how much distance you have, how much you can, like, basically cock up your arm and just fucking swing it towards your other opponent's face. But I thought he could have survived these punches. I was like, okay, he's taking some shots, maybe he'll survive. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at him, and he's out cold, like, he is not moving, toes curled up. The referee stops the fight, and Azamat Bekoev wins, which just shows proof. It doesn't matter if you're fighting on short notice. It doesn't matter if you're making your debut. It doesn't matter if you've lost to people with like 11-2 records. As long as you have a V at the end of your name, you've probably got a really good chance of winning. I thought otherwise. I thought short notice would hurt him. I thought Zachary Reese was actually trained for this fight. I thought Zachary Reese had some good strike. I thought he was the bigger dude. I thought he was going to win. I was wrong. And I didn't really know anything about Azamat and Bekoev, so I will take that on the chin. But I did pick Zachary Reese to win, and I was proven to be a fool. Anyway, Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira, a massive snoozer. Grant Dawson, for the most part, ends up on cards and just ruins them. Like, I don't want to say that, like, there isn't a market for his style. Like, if you're really good, you're just really good, right? Like, look at Merab. He wasn't getting much, like, push to being a star, but he just won so much at this point. He's like, oh my god, can anyone beat him? The card is insane. Grant Dawson's a bit different. On the feet, he looks absolutely amateurish. Diego Ferreira, I thought at some point would have KO'd him at one point in like the third round. I think Diego was like, screw this, just went for all out with Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson was like, you know what, I can throw as well. Was getting completely destroyed. I thought he might get chinned here like he did against Bobby Green. But for the most part, he got his takedowns. He controlled him. He landed strikes. They weren't significant strikes. They were very much pitter-patter strikes. They weren't significant in any way whatsoever. And yeah, he just out-decisions Diego Ferreira. Wins, I think every single round. Diego Ferreira, an old man, doesn't really bring much to the table at this stage of the game, other than being on the Apex prelims, or maybe even like the Apex main cards. They're usually pretty garbage. But yeah, that's just basically what Diego Ferreira is at in his career. Grant Dawson gets it done. Next up, Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Elekana. Billy Elekana is one of... You know what? I think I hate him more than I hate any person that's ever fought in the UFC, and I'll tell you why. He starts off the first round immediately mixing the takedowns, controls Bogdan Guskov for the most of the round until the very end of the first round when Bogdan gets out, lands some strikes on Billy Elekana. Billy Elekana is just eating those strikes in the second round. The second round comes around. They're trading... they're trading on the feet, and all of a sudden you can clearly tell Billy Elekana is completely gassed. Keep in mind, he came into this fight from a weight division below. He didn't cut any weight whatsoever. He actually came into the fight weighing 200 pounds, and he gassed. He completely gassed in the second round. He wanted to get finished, like, towards the end. Like, he was just curled up against the cage, looking over, just, like, hands above his head, just being like, okay, how much can I fake being hurt so the ref stops the fight? Basically what he was thinking. Eventually, he drops to a knee. Bogdan Guskov not even putting any pressure on him. He just, like, stepped away, like, 2 feet away. Billy doesn't try to get back up onto his feet. He's just looking over like, ref, can you stop this fight for me, please? Basically what he does. And then eventually he just sticks his neck out, takes a few more strikes, fakes it, and then sticks his neck out on purpose, gets caught in like a guillotine submission or something like that, and just taps immediately. So, complete absolute bitch, pussy. Don't give him a UFC contract. I don't understand why, like, I get it, right? Like, listen, sometimes you just want to throw in the flag, and it's just, you just know it's not going to be your day. Your body just physically can't take the endurance that you demand from it. But come on, like, like, if someone had money on Billy Elekana, think about this, right? They literally watched this guy hand the money to Bogdan Guskov, to the bookies. Imagine that, if you had money on Billy Elekana, and then he's just losing on purpose. Just waiting, like, not even being a warrior and being like, you know what? I don't have much left in the tank, so whatever I have left, I'll just unload now, go full out, risk the KO, and hopefully I can get a win. Nope, doesn't do any of that. Just gives up and just sticks his neck out and fakes, like, and just fakes that he got caught. He didn't get caught, he let himself get caught. Not even caught really, kind of just like handed him, like alley-ooped him, like gave him basically a layup with the basketball with his neck basically. Anyway, the pick was Bogdan anyway, but yeah, just really terrible stuff here. Payton Talbott versus Raoni Barcelos. This went the full 3 rounds, and Raoni Barcelos arguably 30-26'd him. The first round was a completely one-sided domination. Payton Talbott turns out has no wrestling defense. He's very much going to end up looking like the Kevin Holland of the bantamweight division, it feels like no actual wrestling game. It looks like a wet noodle out there, like literally just flailing around on every single takedown attempt. Raoni Barcelos somehow gets the win here. I'm not saying somehow, like, obviously he's like, if I told you he was 50 years old, would you be surprised just looking at his face? He looks 50. Comes into the fight at the age of 37 and just destroys Payton Talbott. In the first round, completely dominates him, controls him. Not enough damage, I agree. So if you don't want to give it 10-8 based on that, I can understand that. But it was completely domination. Like, there was no argument whatsoever that you could ever make for Payton Talbott winning that round. None whatsoever. It was just so one-sided. Payton Talbott got nothing off. I don't think he landed a single strike. But he might have. I could be wrong. And then Raoni Barcelos does the exact same thing in the later rounds. Payton Talbott does have a takedown of his own in this fight, but yeah, Raoni Barcelos shot like 15 takedowns, got 8 of him. Overall, just controlled him every single round. When it was on the feet, Payton Talbott wasn't doing too badly, but the threat of the takedowns, Raoni Barcelos eventually took him down over and over and over again and ended the hype of Payton Talbott, who has been appearing on a lot of, like, you know, what's it called? Like, he's been appearing on a lot of YouTube channel shows, or like YouTube shows, or whatever they are, right? UFC fighter versus 6 girls blind date edition. Like, he had some potential to him. He was a little bit of a cooler personality than Sean O'Malley, in my opinion. Not as cringy, just seemed like a more cool dude. A bit of a feminist, don't get me wrong, but Jover. It's Jover. The pick was Payton Talbott. Silly me once again. To be fair, I'm not doing too bad with the predictions tonight. Like, what did I get? Grant Dawson, Bogdan. I got Reese wrong, I got Payton wrong, I got Rinya wrong. So I got 3. So out of 8 fights, I got 3 wrong. 5 and 3, not too bad. Anyway, we move on. Renegade Raider versus Kevin Holland. Now, Kevin Holland I think he has said that he gets bored in fights, therefore he doesn't try anymore. He is genuinely just throwing fights on purpose if he's taken down because he doesn't have the discipline to train wrestling in his training camps. Anytime anyone's shot a single takedown on the guy, he's been taken down without any hesitancy. Like, the fight starts here, and Renegade immediately takes him down, and Kevin Holland can do nothing about it. No scrambles, and like, none of that stuff. Like, he is too small for middleweight, doesn't have middleweight strength to him whatsoever. Gets taken down, controlled, and then eventually submitted in the first round. He wasn't doing too bad off of his back. He was landing some shots. Renegade Raider moves like a 50-year-old. Whenever he's getting struck, he's just like, oh, like flailing away. Like, I don't know what to do. Looks completely amateurish when he's getting hit, but the guy has some really good jiu-jitsu. Eventually gets the back of Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's like scooting him off. He's nearly falling over all of a sudden. I don't know if it was Renegade Raider shifting his weight that made Kevin Holland go forwards and eventually roll, with giving Renegade Raider a dominant position with his back and like a full body lock, or if Kevin Holland just went for a roll for some bizarre reason, while Renegade Raider was like almost on the edge of like sliding off of his back. Makes no sense. Eventually Kevin Holland's caught in a rear naked choke, submits, and yeah, just quits again. And I said this after his last fight against Roman Dolidze, he genuinely does just quit in these fights. Like, he gets taken down and he's like, okay, well, this is going to be a long night. Let's just get it over and done with early. Let's just clock off of work early today. Here comes a tap. Here's my neck. I thought you had a black belt, my guy. What happened to the scrambles? Like, didn't you KO Jacare Souza from the ground back in the day? Against Khamzat Chimaev, you were scrambling all over the place. Kept getting up and down and up and down. But you showed up a bit of a fight there. Like, this is ridiculous. Be disciplined, make welterweight, because middleweight just isn't your division whatsoever. You have been exposed to the nth degree in the middleweight division against anyone that's top 15 level and has some wrestling. Anyway, the pick was Renegade Raider, $125. Won the bet. I did quite well with my betting today. But anyway, moving on. Jailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. I will say this. Jailton Almeida, if you have a favorite fighter in the heavyweight division, you don't want them fighting Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida would genuinely probably ragdoll most of the division, outside maybe Tom Aspinall. I think the fact that he got KO'd by Curtis Blades is literally just a complete foolery on his behalf. Like, he does that stupid thing that fighters do where they go in for a takedown and they just don't let go while getting hammered with elbows to the back of the head. That's such a dumb thing these fighters do. Like, it's the same thing that Paul Craig did, where he just wouldn't let go of the leg of Johnny Walker and just taking punches to the face, like, for some reason just had too much pride to just let go and say, I failed here. That was just a silliness. I think if they fight 10 times, Jilton Almeida probably wins 7 times, at least against Curtis Blades. I think he would probably ragdoll him in a rematch. He wouldn't be as dumb as he was in that fight. But hey, he did have some trouble with Spivak. Spivak did end up taking him down, show some of his own dominant wrestling, but there was some fun scrambles with Jilton Almeida ending up on top, reversing it, just using his power, shifting his body. Ends up on top of Spivak. Spivak all of a sudden does the exact same, well, not the exact same thing. He does end up getting on top of Almeida though. That's on top of Almeida. Eventually Almeida gets back up onto his feet, unloads onto Sergey Spivak, unloads onto him, and just like pushing him against the cage, not pushing him against the cage. He ends up against the cage because of like the strike. Like Jilton Almeida just goes, screw this, and he just goes silly levels of bonkers on the feet. And Sergey Spivak, it does not have good striking whatsoever. Gets overwhelmed, dropped, and then finished eventually. It wasn't like a knockout KO, it was like a TKO. But still a good win for Jilton Almeida, and it's quite clear that he can beat anyone outside of that like elite level at heavyweight. Like maybe he struggled with Volkov, Curtis Blades, obviously Aspinall. I think he ragdolled Cyril Gane, if I'm being completely honest. I think Pavlovich probably gets ragdolled as well, but Pavlovich has a better path to win, just because Pavlovich has that KO power in his hand and on the feet. Jilton Almeida going wild is a good chance of getting clipped. Same with Aspinall. Cyril Gane, a more technical striker, so I can't say that Almeida would definitely beat him, but doesn't have that power that those guys have. Therefore, I think Almeida would probably just ragdoll him. Anyway, the pick was Almeida as part of my 2-leg multi. Almeida and Umar Nurmagomedov. Next up, Yuri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill. Now, this fight on 99% of cards, 99% of cards would be the fight of the night, I would say. It was a crazy fight. I just didn't want Yuri to lose. The ridicule that he would get, like my friend was already saying, he's washed, there's this and that. It would have been really humiliating considering that he flew over a woman that had cancer, that cut her hair, to basically show, like, give her, like, you know, just to like empower her, I guess, like to show her a good time, whatever. He does eventually, so yeah, he would have been humiliated. Same thing for Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill probably had worse odds, like not worse odds, like more coming into this fight. The fact that he was coming in after talking all that trash, it was because of the ref, this, that, and the other. Comes into this fight. If he loses, he's just going to be humiliated, pants on the internet. And unfortunately, you just do that. I felt really bad after Jamal Hill lost because he put up a great fight. In the first round, I thought Yuri Prochazka clearly won. I mean, he was kind of close on the feet a little bit until Yuri Prochazka drops Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill does manage to survive, get back onto his feet and just trade a bit more. But by then, Yuri Prochazka just out-volumes him, just looks like a more crisp fighter. And in this fight, Yuri Prochazka's head movement, I did make a video on this and I said he has more skill than he gets given credit for. Yuri Prochazka did have his hands up more in this fight than he usually does. But in the first round, they were a little bit lower. They're more down here as opposed to like up here. You know, but he did have good head movement. And I did say in my video he needs to move laterally, not in a back and forth straight line kind of manner. And that's something he did. He circled, he what's it called, like stick and moved. He went in and out of his strikes. He was moving backwards every time Jamal Hill tried to close the gap. He was going in lateral circles. I did say Jamal Hill has his trouble generating enough power with his hooks as opposed to just straight line strikes just down the middle through the center. And yeah, that happened. And even though Jamal Hill was landing some really good strikes here and there, there was some good uppercuts, there was some good in the clinch. Jamal Hill did really well in my opinion. Actually, he was beating Yuri Prochazka on the hill. He was out-volume him. I thought he was landing them crisper shots in the clinch by far. So he was doing quite well in those situations. But like I said, Yuri Prochazka will keep the fight close because Jamal Hill really needs that space to be able to generate the power, and Yuri was just moving backwards every time, in and out. Not really letting Jamal Hill generate all that power to, like, you know, just stand still. Great game plan. His head movement looked really good in this fight as well. Just very skillful. His footwork was very good as well. He has a very wide stance when he fights, so it's always going to be trouble for him to, like, check leg kicks, in my opinion. But for the most part, you know, that's a massive weakness in his game, especially against someone like Alex Pereira. He needs something different for that. He needs something different, because Alex Pereira has the touch of death. Like, if you're in a clinch, he doesn't have the same problem Jamal Hill does. If he's in the clinch, he can KO you in those, like, tight spaces. Something Jamal Hill isn't. Well, at least I haven't seen him be able to generate that kind of power. Anyway, second round comes around. Yuri Prochazka accidentally catches him on the eye with, like, a knuckle or a thumb. It was, like, a very light graze, in my opinion. Jamal Hill looked fine afterwards. His eye was fine. He was just a bit beaten up from the round before. His eye was like bruised up from the round before. He's fine to go, but then later on that same round, he does the John Jones fingers out. Listen, when Yuri Prochazka caught Jamal Hill with the thumb to the eye, Yuri Prochazka was like trying to parry off one of Jamal Hill's punches. He was trying to do that. Jamal Hill moves in closer. The knuckle of the thumb touches his eye. It is what it is. When Jamal Hill eye poked Yuri Prochazka, he literally had his fingers like this going bang. And he had 2 fingers deep gouged into the eyes of Yuri Prochazka to the level that even Chris Weidman would be jealous. But, yeah, Yuri Prochazka, at one point I was scared because the doctor came in. I'm like, what the fuck, the doctor for this? But then, luckily, Yuri Prochazka's a warrior, said, no, it's fine. But then, that round was pretty close until that moment, in the second round this is. And then Jamal Hill completely took over, and I'm thinking, okay, Yuri Prochazka is definitely something's happened here. It's not looking as good. Jamal Hill takes over the second round, wins the second round. Third round comes around. It is scary seeing Yuri Prochazka go for, like, flying knees, because you know when you go for a jump, when you leave the ground, right, and you land back, you don't have control over where your body goes. You just don't have that control anymore. You know what I mean? Like when you leave the ground, come back, you have like a split second of gaining your feet again so you can start moving again. I was scared every time you would go for that. Like if he doesn't connect with this, Jamal Hill can easily just like blitz him and then potentially, you know, get him in trouble. But anyway, the third round comes around. Yuri Prochazka actually does hurt Jamal Hill somewhat. He just like unloads onto him. Jamal Hill's like really panicking. He's pushed against the cage, trying to throw back. Eventually ends up in a putting Yuri, like grabs him by the head, has him in a clinch situation. Eventually they break off. Jamal Hill is doing really well in clinch situation, so that's where he was going. But then eventually Yuri Prochazka finds the chin of Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill does survive and get back onto his feet. Eventually gets finished, KO'd. A very sad. I mean, not. Listen, I like Jamal Hill, but knowing that Yuri Prochazka, what was at stake for him, the guy would probably never even touch a belt if he lost here. I'm glad he managed to get the win. I think the next fight to make for him is Khalil Roundtree. I think that makes all the sense in the world. Or the winner of Ulberg versus Blachowicz, I think also makes sense. But, you know, like Khalil is a guy that you could realistically sell a rematch with for Ferreira. And if you can't, you know, if you can't, then just have him matched up against Yuri. Because it's hard to sell a Yuri fight. It's hard to sell a Khalil fight. Because he didn't really do too much before he got his title shot. He's not the biggest name. Have them fight each other. It's an amazing fight. It's actually, it would add a lot to any card it's on. Feature fight of any card. Maybe a really stacked card. It could be the feature fight. Co-main event for other pay-per-views. Incredible. I think that's the fight to make. I think Jamal Hill, we'll see what's up for him. We'll see. I don't like Rakic getting people above him despite losing to everyone that's high level. So I don't know. We'll see. The pick was Yuri Prochazka, $250. Ends up getting the win. Amazing. Next up, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili. Merab Dvalishvili has the greatest cardio in the history of mixed martial arts. Not only does he have the greatest cardio in the history of mixed martial arts, he has the greatest, like, just the will to win that no, not the greatest will to win. He just has something. Like, if you just let Merab do Merab and you don't stop him, you will just lose that fight. Merab has just indomitable will. Like, it is the most insane thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Umar Nurmagomedov, I didn't know, I did say in my video, there's an uncertainty to his cardio. But this was insane. Like, after the first 2 rounds, I don't think he just gassed out because, oh, well, you know, cardio, Umar hasn't been checked before. He was literally out-cardioing Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen was tired in the 4th and the 5th round. Umar was out-striking him on the feet just because he just had a better gas tank than him. This pace that Merab puts on you, where you're stuffing takedowns, shooting your own takedowns, Merab's defending them, and he just keeps going at you over and over again. Like, Umar was very, very technical. Like, I was feeling bad for Merab. I was thinking, why have the UFC done him like that? Should have given him at least one easy title defense. Not easy by any means, but should have given him, like, one fight that's, like, winnable, or, like, where he's, like, a big favorite in, like, maybe Figueiredo. But no, I was, like, thinking, okay, well, this sucks. I mean, you know, after the first 3 rounds, Umar was just looking way more crisp, like, the tells were way different. Like, Merab was winding up, you could see it coming from a mile away. Umar was just so slick with it. The question mark kick, the strikes, just getting his leg up really high, really quickly. Amazing, and Umar had some great flexibility. Merab couldn't do anything, like, his, like, legs, he was just extending so much, being able to maneuver his body, get back onto his feet, and I was thinking, damn it, Umar wins again. Will win again. It's terrible that everyone with the name Nurmagomedov is just a great fighter, and we just have to accept that. We can't actually ever debate legacies between Umar and anyone else, because everyone will just say, well, Umar beats them because his last name is Nurmagomedov. But I'm so glad this happened. Then the 3rd round comes around, then Merab starts taking over, lands some big shots. I say big shots. He lands some power punches to like the chest and like this. Some of them land to the head of Magomedov, but basically Merab completely not completely. He does out volume Umar, and he looks pretty good in this fight right now. The crowd is insanely into Merab at this point. Every time Merab stuffs a takedown, the crowd is going crazy. I mean, the Merab at one point, Umar shoots a takedown. Merab is pushed against the fence. He does hold the fence for like a split second. It wasn't like he used it to like stay up. He just grabbed onto it for like a second. And then Umar was trying to take him down. He just put all of his body into Merab. Merab just not touching anything, with his hands out, cheering the crowd on, just stuffs a takedown, just squats it down. And the crowd is just going insane at this point. The crowd was just... It was crazy. Like, of two guys not known for being the most exciting fighters, ended up putting on one of the best, probably one of the best fights of the year by the time December rolls around. Because this fight and the last fight, Jiri and Hill, are like probably both going to be top 10 fights, at least top 10 this year. And if they're not, then we've seen some crazy fights this year, if those two aren't top 10. But anyway, amazing, inspiring, the kind of performance that makes you want to go for a run afterwards. And then the fourth round comes around, and it's the same story. Merab is just out-voluming him, just doing too much, stuffing the takedowns, getting his own takedowns. Umar doesn't look that good, and all of a sudden, the fight is 2-2 going into the fifth round. Umar is gasping for his life before the round, and Merab is just there, like, jumping, and he's just, like, excited, like, just ready to fight. He looks like it's just round one Merab. There's been nothing like Merab Dvalishvili. Like, we have seen fighters like Colby Covington. Like, even Khabib had amazing cardio. Dominic Cruz has always had great cardio. Basically a lot of people that don't have a lot of power, let's be honest here. But these guys don't hold the candle to Merab. Like Khabib in the later rounds, Connor's stuffing the takedowns, right? In the later rounds, fighters do okay against Khabib. Merab Dvalishvili, like, he is fighting at round 1 pace in round 5. There's been nothing like him. He just doesn't slow down. The grind of Merab Dvalishvili is insane. If you don't finish the guy, you're screwed, basically. And also, Umar was shooting some takedowns, and he just couldn't get Merab. He got 2 takedowns in the entire fight, only 2. Merab took down Umar a few times. At one point, I literally shit you not, Merab Dvalishvili just pushes Umar onto the ground, just says, "Go down, bitch, me," and goes down Umar. And Merab's just like pointing at him. Umar goes for like a head kick, misses, and Merab is doing the thing that he does. He's taunting Umar like someone of the Nurmagomedov lineage got ragdolled from rounds 3 to 5, basically. Well, definitively lost, not ragdolled, but still. That's crazy. I never thought I'd see the day, and I'm glad I was able to be alive to witness the exposing of the Nurmagomedovs. Like, this amazing wrestling, this well-rounded game they have. Oh, we train so hard, we get up in the morning, run mountains, run back down, and train with bears. Merab Dvalishvili said, "I don't give a shit, I jump into frozen lakes." And just out-cardioed Umar completely. Ragdolled him. It was an amazing fight to watch live. If you go back and watch, I mean, obviously, like, we know that it goes to a decision. There's no actual finishing potential, anything big like that. But watching it live, it was just an incredible performance to watch. And then later on, towards the end of the fight, Merab takes down Umar. Before the, like, 10 seconds left, he gets up, starts running around, like, hands up in the air. Umar's like, just walking towards him, like, oh, well, I mean, the fight's going. And then as the buzzer goes, Merab punches him in the face one more time, humiliates him completely, wins the fight. I think quite clearly won the fight as well. It was no robbery. I was scared they might rob him, but incredible stuff from Merab Dvalishvili. He is the machine. He defeated a Nurmagomedov, fighting the way he fought. Didn't have the power in his hands. Like we said, like, Umar's a better striker, but how technical can you be when you're gasping for air? Insane, Merab. I did pick Umar to win. I was a fool. I should have seen it coming. But how can you, right? Like, he wasn't really exposed to, like, his cardio. It was, I mean, I say exposed. Like, does he even have bad cardio? Or is it just Merab? Just Merab. Like, the pace he puts on is just so high level. Like, you're just exhausted afterwards. Insane. The main event, Islam versus Moicano. Not much to say here. The fight starts on the feet. It's kind of just like a jab. Like, they're just feeling each other out, getting each other's ranges down. Jab, 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 jab. All of a sudden, Islam falls down because his leg, he slipped. It wasn't a knockdown. He just slipped, got back up, gets back up immediately. He's kind of embarrassed. He's like, screw this. Takes down Renato Moicano. Takes him down. Moicano eventually is like, screw this. tries to get up, and Islam just catches him with a dart stroke, I believe, and just completely finishes him off. And that's it. Or Peruvian necktie, or whatever it was, right? Like, he finishes Moicano like he should have in the first round. There was, yeah, still a minute on the clock, 4 minutes into the fight. Finishes off Moicano. Afterwards, Moicano looked really disheartened and sad. But yeah, that was, there's nothing else to say here. I mean, Islam did to Moicano what he should have done to Moicano. Like, the guy took the fight on short notice. He's not really on the level of Islam. Afterwards, Moicano said something about, he might never get the chance again, but he will try. He's just a really likable guy, Moicano. Like, very based and also just like a cool dude. Anyway, Islam wins. He's not the lightweight GOAT in my opinion. I don't think this is the fight to do it for me. It's just clearly, like, if someone beats Moicano, realistically, right? Let's say a hypothetical fighter, as Dariush, or not even, let's say even a prospect beats Moicano, or Dariush beats Moicano, like maybe Paddy beats Moicano. He's not someone in a position where you would even get a title shot afterwards. Maybe you get someone in the top 5 next if Dana likes you. Or maybe they fast track you if you beat Moicano to a title eliminator. That's kind of believable. But really, he was just a few tiers down from the level that you expect from, like, the greatest lightweights. It's a good win to have on your resume. I'm not going to try to discredit him too much. Like, he has beaten some really good guys, actually. Drew Dober, Jalen Turner, Benoit Saint-Denis. A lot of good guys he's beaten, but yeah, I think Arman would have been a far stronger case than Islam might have had the case to be the GOAT lightweight. Like, he might have been the GOAT lightweight if he had beaten Arman. I would really have to look into it, but I might have leaned his way, but right now I can't. If Islam and Arman's rebooked and Islam can beat Arman Tsarukyan, then maybe. Like, listen, then he probably is the greatest lightweight. To me, he would have the longevity, he would tie Anderson's 16-fight win streak, all in the lightweight division. All dominantly, or not all, but like most of them dominantly. A lot of good fights, good performances, finished a lot of guys, arguably lost to Volkanovski, so I don't know how I would judge that, but the pick was going to be Islam Makhachev, and he got it done easily, and I was making jokes about it in the Islam versus Moicano fight, and yeah, about how Moicano can win, and I said Islam would just completely win by however he wants, and that's basically what happened. Anyway, the total event profit was $362.50 in profits that I made. So that's the amount of money I make after I break even. If I went below what I had put into the account, to the bets, it would be negative, then my overall profit would go down. But right now my overall profit is $2,197.94. A fairly decent effort so far, and this is all from UFC France last year in like September. So I've been doing pretty well. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. That was the entire fight card broken down. The main card was amazing. If Moicano had somehow pulled off the upset, it would probably be in the argument for the greatest UFC main card of all time. We had 2 amazing fights, 2 top 10 fights of the year, easily, I think. If these 2 fights happened last year, they would be top 5 easily, both of them, top 5. No question about it. Top 4, really. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The only fights even in the conversation with these 2 was like, what, Poirier versus Islam, which was the fight of the year last year in my opinion, and then what, like Royval versus what's his name, Tatsuro Taira. That's it. But yeah, 2 amazing fights, got some first round finishes in the other 3 fights, so we did see a lot of fun finishes. Fun performances, fun fights, great fights, 4 finishes, 4 out of 5, and one fight that didn't have a finish was like one of the best performances we've seen all time, really. Just based on the context that was available to us, just given the last name was Nurmagomedov, and what destroying Umar represents. It represents no Umar for at least another year. Like, they might give him the title shot if he just gets 1 win, which is quite crazy. I don't think they should do that. I think at least 2 wins should be garnered here, especially for a division as deep as bantamweight, where there's other guys who might be able to squeeze into like the title shot considerations. I think Purian versus... Honestly, Corey versus Sean or Purian versus Sean makes all the sense in the world. I don't know who Merab defends against. I don't think it should be Sean O'Malley. Because think about this, right? Sean O'Malley, Oh, wait, why am I going on about that shit now? Anyway, it's not an interesting fight. The profits be up. You should get down by putting your finger down on the subscribe button, like the video, comment below, hit the notification bell for more videos. I'll see you next time. 201 subscribers I'm on. The next goal is 250. Give me the 250. Subscribe.